Dr. Atwater, I'll field just the questions as they come at the
Yes,
end
ma'am. Okay.
while you're talking. All right, good afternoon, Continental Colony family. Welcome to our first gifted program meeting today. I am Dr. Vaughn, and we have our program teacher, Dr. Atwater, online with us today, as well as our parent liaison, Miss Lee. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope this communication finds you healthy and safe. I know you've had an abundance of information this week in regards to returning to school. So I do just want to remind you, Monday is the final day to complete your intent to return survey. And you can find the video, the town hall that we conducted this past Wednesday on all of our social media outlets. If you if you weren't able to attend that particular meeting, in order to get more knowledge when you make your decision. So again, that survey is due Monday, October 12th. If you do not complete the survey, then you automatically remain in your current model, which is virtual. So again, Monday, please complete your intent to return survey by Monday. So we'll go ahead and jump into our content today. So again, welcome. We're just going to go over our gifted and talented program model. Miss Dr. Atwater is going to talk about expectations in the program, the gifted standards, as well as the scope and sequence for our boys and girls that are in the program. So to start off with, we are in this virtual space. And of course, we are using a different model this year because of this virtual space. And we are using the direct services resource model, which is basically all students that report to Dr. Atwater on Monday and Tuesday have been identified as gifted and talented, okay? Some of our students that also go to visit Dr. Atwater are a part of our talent development program as well. But the curriculum he uses must have an academic content foundation based on the Georgia curriculum standards. So Dr. Atwater still, and he'll go over that with you, still focuses on our Georgia standards of excellence, but it should also focus on interdisciplinary enrichment activities and not any one content area. So again, he teaches, and he'll go over the scope and sequence with you. And because we are in our phase to become an IB school, all of our units are actually interdisciplinary. The content and pacing should be differentiated to the degree that the activities are not clearly appropriate for more typical students at that grade level. So of course, this model also allows for that because everyone under his instruction on those Mondays and Tuesdays that your students go to Dr. Atwater are getting that differentiated instruction. The local district must establish criteria and guidelines that identify gifted and regular education students who will be successful in advanced content classes. So again, your students have been identified through that testing process. The local Board of Education must maintain a description of the course curriculum, which very clearly shows how the advanced course content, teaching strategies, pacing, process skills, and assessments differ from courses more typical for students at that grade level. So again, Dr. Atwater will share that with you. And I just have to say again, the direct services resource model allows for your students to get that time with Dr. Atwater, because in the virtual space, if he was bouncing from room to room, of course, we are on a reduced hour schedule. So our boys and girls are only online for 4 hours each day. They would probably get maybe 15 minutes. So with the direct services resource model on Mondays and Tuesdays allows for them to get that additional time and be able to have those discussions with their peers. I did want to kind of share this with you. This is just a chart to show a bright child versus gifted learner. So you all know, you live with your students, you know they are curious, they ask questions, they are highly curious, and they're mentally and physically involved. And so we want to ensure that these students are going beyond, just as we said the requirements are, going beyond that core curriculum and going deeper into this content and across content areas. So we do want to push them. You may find that some of the content is pushing your child, but we want them to stay challenged. We don't want them to get challenged and say, oh, I can't do this, or I'm going to give up. We want them to persevere. And that's one of our major standards, persevere during problem solving. So when they push, and they're like, I can't, let me, just question them and say, okay, let's read it again. Let's look deeper, because we don't want them to hit a rock wall and then just give up, because they have been identified that they can um, adhere to these higher standards. So we want to present them with challenges. We don't want them to give up on those challenges. We want to persevere, and we want to give them the support. And so Dr. Atwater will talk to you about the support times he has, his expectations, as well as the scope and sequence. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Atwater.
Once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday evening. I am Dr. Atwater, and as Dr. Vaughn spoke, I am the gifted teacher for Continental College Elementary. And so far this year of virtual learning has been a pleasure of being able to teach all of the students. I really do appreciate the parents also of communicating with me, also sending me different questions via email and text. So moving forward with the gifted expectations, the expectations in the gifted courses, number one is to um, be attentive in class and basically to come to class. I know that all of the students do have other obligations and they're required to go to their classroom, but just so that they can receive all of those gifted services, I do ask students do come to class, try to arrive to class a little early, and not only get there early, but basically be attentive while being there. Dr. Bunny, it went forward. It's on the gifted expectations.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. And also with attendance, after attendance is classwork. Classwork, we do receive participation grades, so they will not always have homework assignments, but sometimes there will be activities where they can do according to their Google Classroom, and all the assignments are posted on a Google Classroom. And as I spoke of earlier, since I only meet with them once a week, they always don't have assignments on Google Classroom, but when they do, a lot of times they have up to 1 week to 2 weeks to complete some of those assignments since they're project based. Also, participation goes along with the attendance, just that the child be there present. I know sometimes as parents, we want to kind of sit with them and chime in and give them the answers or tell them what to do. But a lot of times, just stepping aside a little bit and allow that child to really get the bulk of their learning and participate. Next slide. While the students are in these Zoom sessions, we do have some different rules that I have introduced to the students, and I did send this out to the parents that are gifted Zoom expectations. Number one, as I spoke of, being there, being on time, being up early, and just logging in a few minutes, because sometimes I know the computer and the different connections, they do log off sometimes. So just basically being on time. Being sure that you're in a quiet place. I always instructed the students to find a place that's quiet and just to check their surroundings, making sure they're in appropriate surrounding and with an appropriate background. Also, just being prepared, being sure that the computer's on charge, make sure that camera is on, and also using headphones sometimes. Sometimes when students, if they do have headphones, they can use those headphones and they can kind of zone out all of the other noise that may be taking place within the house. Um, as far as presentation,
I'm sorry.
well, along with the different presentations, sometimes the students will be asked to present, and these are just some expectations that I went over with the students when presenting. Just be sure that they are using their big kid voice, um, basically when they're presenting, and also being a good listener when other people are presenting along with the teacher. So still, they're just toning in on being present. Also, make sure that they wear appropriate clothing. A lot of the students, they do receive classroom dojo points for still being in uniform, because we still want them to get into the habit of we're dressing for success and dressing for learning. I also ask that the students mute themselves, just so that they can be sure that they're listening to the other students and the teacher when they're talking, and just out of respect, because I also teach all the students when they're talking, we'll mute ourselves so that we can hear and comprehend what they're saying. Um, Presentations, be focused, be attentive, and be active instead of just sitting there at times. I know sometimes it can be a long day of sitting at the computer, but we still ask that we be actively engaged within the lesson. Next, we have chat responsibly. This is still school, so the students have been taught um, how to use an icon button on their computer in order to raise their hand when they like to speak. Some students, they can still just actually raise their physical hand, and I'll actually give them opportunity to talk. Um, and another method they can use when chatting responsibly is to just send direct messages to the teacher, myself, in the chat box. Also, with communication, as I spoke of earlier, using those big kid voices, speaking clearly, looking at the speaker, and basically staying on topic. And last, just to be respectful, be kind with your words, be kind with your actions, be kind with everything you're typing, and just be considerate and treat others just the way that you'd like to be treated. So these are some rules and expectations for Zoom that I have reviewed with the students, and we somewhat start the week off just kind of reviewing our rules. Next, we're going to move towards the gifted standards. As Dr. Vaughn spoke of earlier, the learning that will be taking place within gifted, it is aligned with the state standards, Georgia standards of excellence. However, embedded and added to those are the gifted standards for Atlanta Public Schools. Um, the first standard is advanced communication skills. And with this, the learners, they're going to express ideas clearly and effectively using advanced communication skills and for a variety of purposes. As I spoke of earlier, a lot of the assignments and activities that we do, they're project-based learning, and students are working through projects and presentations. So some of the standards that we will be touching is them being able to communicate their skills, communicate their ideas. Next, it is creativity. It says that learners will generate and produce items, ideas, and solutions using creative thinking skills. I always look for how creative the students are, and I always challenge them to be creative, be out of the box with the different assignments that will be taking place, and just show their own type of creativity and everything that they do to express themselves. The next standard that we do have in gifted is create problem solving. With this, we know for a fact that in life, kids have to be able to solve problems. So I show them different methods on how to solve problems. And when we come to activities, I give them opportunities to solve the different problems and choose the different method of problem solving that they like to use when solving problems. Next is global citizenship, where the learners will be developing an awareness of global culture and connection and issues in order to become actively engaged citizens. So this standard also is tied into a plethora of things that we'll be doing when it comes to the projects. Next, we have higher order thinking skills. At this point in Gifted, we do want students to think on a different scale, think on a higher level scale in order for them to not only show that they can comprehend the lesson that's being taught, but also for them to be able to show that they can produce something or they can produce the skill that we are learning that shows higher level thinking. Next, we have leadership as a standard. Leadership standard says that students will develop an awareness of leadership skills. Already that the kids are gifted, they already show um, that they are leaders. But one thing that I'm here to do is to inspire and help the students become more leaders, become better leaders. I'm sorry, to become better leaders and increase those leadership skills throughout the different lessons where we will be taking place. One method that I do this in, I also assign group tasks. So when they get in their groups, they all have a different type of leadership skill that they have to do in order to accomplish the task within the project. Next, we have advanced research skills. There will be different times and embedded into the lessons where the students will be asked to do a little bit of research. Now, these students, they're not just asked to do these things. Along the way, every time I meet with the students, depending on what skill we're focusing on, those skills are still modeled like they're modeled in the regular classroom. Not only are they modeled after I model the skill with the students, we practice some of these skills together. We do these skills in groups, and then the students are released as well to work on and practice these advanced research skills. And last standard for gifted is the social emotional learning. SEL is still embedded into gifted as well, just like it's embedded into the regular curriculum. So these standards that are here for gifted with APS, all of these standards will be embedded within the lesson. So not only will they be focusing on the standards that are for Georgia Standards of Excellence, but they'll be focused on the APS gifted standards as well.
Dr. Atwater, as we move into the scope and sequence, we do have one question, and I think you'll probably cover it when you go through the scope and sequence. But one question is, some assignments do not have due dates. How will the students know how to pace those assignments without due dates? So if you can kind of speak to when you get into the scope and sequence, if you can speak to the actual working through those assignments, at what pace students should work through those assignments.
Okay, so first, before we begin this scope of sequence, some assignments they do not have due dates. The assignments that do not have due dates with these different projects, since we have had a break and this following week, I sent messages out to parents and the students just to let them know that I was actually going to be at a training. I only meet with those students on Mondays and Wednesdays. So I believe it was a holiday a few Mondays ago. I did not meet with the Monday group, and I just informed them that I was moving assignments back. Also, sometimes the students they do not come to class, and so when students don't come to class, what I do is so that I don't penalize them, so that they don't meet a day, I'll take off the assignment day because some of these assignments are tough, and I do understand that parents feel as if they have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But when I do see that it's a multitude of the classroom somewhat behind, what I do is I take off the due date so that I can go back and I can reteach the concept so that the parents don't have to feel as if they have to do the heavy lifting. And later on, after I come back and review the lesson again, that's when I'll put a new due date on there. When it comes to the different projects, the projects will have a due date on there. As I spoke of earlier, the last project did not have a due date because I had to move things back within the lesson because I did have a few parents say that the kids were behind or they didn't comprehend something. So I moved that back. So moving forward, there will always be due dates on the different assignments and projects that will be coming up forth. So if I look at the beginning of September, we have on the first column, we have first and second grade. And on the next column, we have third and fifth grade. These are the different groups that will be broken up and how they'll be taught within the classrooms. As Dr. Vaughn spoke of earlier, all these assignments and presentations will be differentiated. And we will, could you go back up just a little bit, Dr. Vaughn? Right there. So first grade, so the first unit, if you see in bold, the first unit is an economics unit. And in this economics unit, with first and second grade, basically what they'll be discussing, I have listed here the gifted standards that they'll be focusing on each week. But excuse me, but the project-based learning activity that goes along with this, and I sent this actually my Google Classroom as well. With this economics unit, the project-based assignment is for these students to um, come up with a concept of a money. So it basically deriving around money, the history of money, and it ties in ELA, social studies, partial of science, and reading assignments. So we'll be focusing everything dealing with economics from first and second grade. If you look at third through fifth, the unit is called the World of Product Development. And this unit, which was still in both these units, but the unit for third through fifth, was still in this unit, and we're focusing basically on product development. So their task towards the end of the project that we've been building on this is to come up with a project and a creation and an invention of something new. All these standards really focus on problem solving. So basically towards the end of the lesson, we're focusing on there's a problem and we have to find a solution and create an invention to solve that problem. Also with this unit as well is social studies embedded, ELA, and reading as well. Scrolling down to the next unit, and by the way, all units are 9 to 10 weeks. All units last from 9 to 10 weeks. If we scroll down a little bit more, Dr. Bum, because what I'm doing is this breakdown will be on my Google Classroom so the parents can always see what will be taking place. But I'm just giving a brief overview of each unit that we will be following. So the first unit we're still on, it was in October. So she's scrolling and it's still showing week by week what will be taking place. Moving into November, I think you can scroll back up. Here we go. So moving into November, now first through second grade, they're still going to be focusing on the economics unit only because I was off on a Monday for a holiday. So grade 1 and 2 are going to be actually 1 week behind 3 through 5. So they're still going to be working on economics the first week of November in the second week, but grade through 3 through 5, they're going to be going to conflict and resolution. And so this focus still, once again, is going to be have all some of those gifted standards embedded into that. With those gifted standards embedded into that, we're going to still be hitting on social studies, English language and arts, and reading, and also math in this unit. Before we start new units, a parent letter will be sent to each parent so that the parent can actually see what will be the expectations. Rubrics will be embedded to those units, and not only will rubrics be embedded to those units, parents will see a brief outlook of what project will be due so that your parents already know the different items that they may need at home or if they need to purchase something in order to complete the projects. So parents be on the lookout that every single time a new unit will begin, I will be sending home parent letters. If parents do not receive those letters, you can also send messages within Classroom Dojo, and I can actually post those messages, those letters on Classroom Dojos as well if parents do not receive that via email. Can scroll to the next week. And as I stated before, this presentation right here that shows the scope and sequence can be found on my Google landing page. So if we come here to December, grade 1 through 2, the unit that they'll be focusing on is living things and interdependency. They'll be focused on this unit for a total of 9 weeks. This unit, once again, is embedded with science, with living things, ELA, and reading. So it's this unit won't not be focusing on social studies. 3 through 5, it still be focusing on conflicts and resolution, and I went over that prior. If we transition to January, in January, we're still focusing on living things in first through second grade. And once again, that unit does last 9 weeks. It's still science, ELA, reading. Now, 3 through 5th grade students, this is when the unit will change. And once again, the parents will receive a parent letter with a brief overview of what this unit is going to discuss. And this is characteristics of science and data analysis. In this unit, it'll be embedded with subjects embedded into this unit is science, ELA, reading, and math are all embedded into this unit. So you'll be looking forward to your students touching bases with all of these subjects. Moving on to February, when we arrive to February, first and second grade, they'll be closing out their unit of living things. 3rd through 5th, they're still going to be focusing on characteristics of science and data analysis. When we enter in March, the standard will change for first through second grade. We're going to be entering into a new unit. With this new unit, parents will receive that parent letter, and the parent letter will entail exactly what is exploration of Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom, this unit will be embedded with social studies, science, ELA, reading, and math. And the project-based learning closing activity will be attached, so parents will be knowing what to expect, what their students should be expected towards the end of this 9 week unit. Characteristics of science and data analysis will still be the focus of the unit for 3 through 5th in March. If we move to April, the only thing that'll be changing in April will be the unit for 3 through 5th. 3 through 5th will be entering into an exciting unit about living things. This unit will cover science, ELA, reading, and it's going to cover math. Also, if you see, all of the gifted standards that will be taught will be listed um, within the different boxes and on the columns. And all this information that I am discussing, you do have access to on my Google Classroom.
All right. I'm gonna go back to the timeline because we have a couple questions and um, one question is any suggestions on how to multitask with assignments as well as other assignments in other classes? I can kind of speak to that too if you want to jump in after Dr. Atwater. My suggestion would be to definitely choose at least 2 days out the week, probably that if you are a third through fifth grade student, Monday, if you are a K through 2 student, Tuesday, definitely use that time with Dr. Atwater to ask any questions. And then that afternoon, dedicate to starting on if it's a project, if it's some type of problem solving activity they have to do, dedicating that day to focus on that content. And then picking another day, perhaps a Wednesday or Thursday, to delve back into what you had from Monday. So you don't go too long without revisiting it, retaining that information and working on those projects. The other teachers in the other classes definitely know who the gifted students are, and they are aware that they do have additional work. So I would say definitely throughout the week after specials at 1:15, taking at least another hour each day to focus on something that afternoon is a huge, I think in elementary school is the foundation to make sure our boys and girls are starting to develop these study habits. And so when they get to, because when you get to college, it's really just basically about you studying, right? Like being a student with no one telling you what to do. So I definitely think throughout the week after specials, using that 1:15 probably to about 2:30 to focus on assignments, revisiting, not waiting to the next week to revisit the material from their gifted teacher, but really picking at least 2 days throughout the week to dedicate to that material. Dr. Atwater, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yes, ma'am, I agree with everything that Dr. Vaughn said. I do understand that these kids, our students, they do have a tough workload already, and I don't. The last thing I want to do is overwhelm the students, but I am here to push them to the next level to increase their life chances. I am making sure that I'm not trying my best to overload them, but there are different assignments that they do have opportunities to complete at home that we did not do in class because all of the work can't be completed within class. As Dr. Bunn said, I do encourage the students also to pick certain days because I'm not sure their workload with the other teachers, but I also ask them to pick certain days that they can work on the projects. Um, the work that I do give the students, the outside work for the projects, they actually do before they see me again. They do have a week in order to complete those. Some of those projects are ongoing, and once I say it, I'm going to be cognizant of putting those different dates and extended times. Some parents have spoken, said, I think the student isn't grasping the concept. Um, I do have different office hours that we'll touch on a little bit later. Of anytime you feel as if something is unclear, you can message me in Dojo. You can send me an email, and also I do have on my landing page my actual contact information so that anytime you may need assistance, I'm one call away. We can schedule a conference, or I can actually have some of that office time to meet with the student to restate or re-elaborate on some of the different topics and things we discussed in class and the different expectations.
And Dr. Atwater, there was a question about pre-recorded lessons. Are you able to add pre-recorded lessons to the website just in case they did not understand the material?
Yes, pre-recorded lessons can be added, and when they're added, they'll be added underneath the Google Slide day. Well, not the Google Slide. They'll be on the Google Classroom on the day of that lesson. Also, if parents will see that when certain things are modeled, uh, if there's a video or something attached to that assignment, you'll see all of the resources attached to some of those assignments.
And then assignments that require students to upload their scratch work, can you show them how to upload the work into the Google Classroom?
Yes, I know towards the beginning of the school year, I did model and show students how to upload on the right side when turning in the different assignments. But I can go back and reteach students again how to upload those scratch work for math because I do like to see with some of the math assignments or projects. I see that students come up with correct answers, but I like to see exactly what strategy students use to come up with these answers, just to be sure um, that they have really grasped the concept.
And then I just wanted to answer the question about the landing page. Dr. Atwater does have a landing page. If you go to the virtual learning hub, just as students go to their normal teachers or their regular ed teachers, there is a button that says gifted. If you click on the gifted button, you will see Dr. Atwater. Click on Dr. Atwater's name and it will take you to his landing page with all of this information. Dr. Atwater, did you just want to review the schedule? I don't see any other questions at this time.
Yes, ma'am, I can review the schedule. So also, if you look on the landing page, on my landing page, you will see a section that says schedule, and there you'll find a detailed map out of my schedule and the student schedule. So on Mondays, we know that we do have our school-wide announcements, and that's from 8 to 8:15, 8:45 to 9 a.m. That's attendance check and SEL and IB live sessions. Oh, there it is. So for Mondays, I see third through fifth students only, third through fifth grade students only. What this schedule entails, this schedule starts at 9 a.m. and the students with me from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. During this time, we're focusing on ELA, science, and social studies. So basically those lessons that you just did, that the lessons and the units that we discussed, this is the time period we're focusing on these. I do ask that all students come on time because since all of these are embedded into one actual lesson, sometimes it's missing 10, 15 minutes of it. It's missing a bulk of the lesson. So it starts at 9 and it ends at 11 a.m. After 11 a.m., there's a lunch break. For myself, students, I'm not sure, well, some students may be going back to class or to their DFS groups, but at 11 to 12 are my lunch break hours. The students, they do come back to me at 12 p.m. for math. And when they come back to me at 12 p.m. for math, they stay with me from 12 p.m. to 1 15 p.m. for math time. How this math time is broken up, even though we are still, everything is still embedded together from 12 to 12:30. It's basically the live session. This is basically where I'm basically modeling a lot of those math skills and the different strategy and the expectations for the students. From 12:30 to 12:45 is when they're focusing on their independent work, independent sessions. Now with this, they're doing independent work, but this is work that I can actually see. Sometimes it's actually group work as well, and I hop in and out of the breakout rooms to give them additional assistance where it's needed. And also from 12:45 to 1:15 is just small group sessions. It's still using the breakout room model for this. On Tuesdays, it's actually identical to excuse me, on Tuesdays it's actually identical to the Monday schedule. The only thing different is I'll be servicing the lower level kids, K through 2. And once again, it starts at 9 a.m. and I'll be with those students, which is a little different from 9 a.m. to 10:30. Um, 9 to 10:30, actually, that needs to be changed. It was 9 a.m. to 10:30 because those students did have DFS, but um, still same time with 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. with the lunch breaks, 12 p.m. to 1:15 for math, and the same small group breakdown as for Monday for the third through fifth. Um, Once again, my office hours. On my office hour times, anytime you like to meet with me, we can schedule after 1:15 on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm free to meet. I'm free to remodel. For the students, if you may just say, hey, my son did not understand the assessment or they didn't understand the problem. After 1:15, it's an opportunity that we can meet, have parent conference, and we can knock out all the kinks. So if you just send me a message on Classroom Dojo on Mondays and Tuesdays, we can meet on those times.
There was one last question about rubrics for the presentation, and I'm happy somebody brought that up because rubrics are also a great way to kind of pace yourself. I know that was a question brought up earlier. So if you're looking at the rubric, then you can pace, okay, I'm gonna get this portion of the project done today. I'm gonna get this portion of the project done next week. So I think rubrics are a great way. So Dr. Atwater, can you add those rubrics for the students' projects if you haven't already?
Yes. Yes, the rubrics for the writing problems are there. The rubrics for the math menu problems are there as well. And also, students, when these projects are given, I review the rubrics with the students just so that the students know what the expectation is. And along with reviewing the rubrics, I have an exemplar, which is basically a project that is a project that will get a grade 100. I model and I show the students what their project can be similar to if they're looking to receive a grade 100, and they do have access to this. Now,
All
one thing
right.
I show the students, this is something additional. I show the students this project, but I don't upload the project that will make a 100, only because I wouldn't want the students to copy the project verbatim.
I do want to kind of just walk us through getting to Dr. Atwater's landing page. I saw that question. So you're still going to Continental Colony's website, click on the Virtual Learning Hub, and then at the bottom, you'll see Gifted. And then this is Dr. Atwater's landing page. All right, so those things that we discussed are here for you on this particular landing page. All right, I didn't see any additional questions, Dr. Atwater. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
No, ma'am, nothing else to share. Just once again, I really do appreciate the parents logging in with us tonight, just communicating, and us being on the same page in order to make sure that the kids are learning and going to be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you once again, parents, for joining us. Again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate. We got one last question. For third through fifth, during 12:45 to 1:15, the students were let out at 12:47. So if they're let out early, what should they be doing?
Well, if the students were let out early, then they probably were given an assignment that they were going to be focusing on. Some of the assignments, the students have to bring it up the assignments on the Google Classroom, and I can't see that in breakout rooms, but I can go into the Google and see that. So those students have the expectation for the last 15 minutes to go start on those independent assignments. So that's up for the students, and most of the time I check in with those students or I'm meeting with another student reteaching or showing them something, and the remainder of the classroom is actually doing the independent assignment and starting their project in advance.
Okay, and then there's a link here on the Google Classroom for that Google Classroom. Again, if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself or Dr. Atwater. Dr. Atwater's office hours again are Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm sorry, beginning at 1:15. So again, if you have any questions, if your students are struggling with any of the material, please do not hesitate to reach out to Mr. or Dr. Atwater during his office hours. This is a great time to ask any of those questions because he is available. We are here for you. Thank you once again for logging in with us today. Hopefully we will be together soon. And I just want to remind everybody again, please complete your intent to return survey by Monday. Everybody have an awesome weekend.
Have a good weekend.